Hey friends, welcome to episode 7 of Rethinking Grading, where we talk about the results of the baseline survey that was sent out to our community in the beginning of June. Just to give some background information on that, in terms of if you want to look at the specifics, there's a link to the survey which you can access by going to the PowerPoint that goes along with this video. The when was the first 2 weeks of June in 2023. And for the who, this is where we got this survey out to students, staff, parents, caregivers, and other members of our community. We did this by getting it out through email, social media, the Parents Association, and math classes. And we did this in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. Importantly, the why for this and the purpose for this survey was to get a sense of how our community feels about the new grading practices we'll be implementing next school year. As far as the respondents, as you can see here, we had 476 total respondents, which is a great result. 77 of those were parents and caregivers, 23 were staff, and this was open to all staff, but the staff who responded were ones who assigned grades. 368 students, 4 alumni, and then 4 others. And forgive the teacher in me if I'm over explaining here, but the survey results, we get qualitative data, which are words, and that resulted in individual responses, which again, you can access through the PowerPoint that goes along with this presentation. For all of these different groups who left comments on the survey, I responded to all of them individually. And again, by clicking on these links, you can see the concerns that came from each of these groups, each of these folks who responded, as well as my responses to those. And I do just want to take an opportunity to thank you all for leaving those comments. I hope my responses are helpful, but just keep in mind those responses are just a beginning, and I really encourage you to reach out to me directly if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns. The other type of data we got are quantitative data, which are essentially the numbers. And that gave us the graphics that I'm going to go into on the following slides. Now, talking about data can be tricky because there's so much and we don't want to get really bogged down into the weeds. I'm just going to do a quick overview for this, but I welcome any questions for sure. So, having said that, folks, with parents and caregivers, one of the questions was about their overall feeling. And as you can see here, the majority of parents and caregivers feel somewhat concerned, followed by neutral. As far as parents and caregivers being asked what was the most concerning of the new grading practices, the vast majority went with the new grade scale, right, using words rather than percentages or letter grades. As far as the most positive, parents and caregivers responded that it was revisions. Overall feeling from staff was feeling somewhat concerned. The most concerning was the new grade scale, and that's a trend that you'll see throughout these results. As far as the most positive, there was no preference for which of these is the most positive, with revisions and standards-based grading coming in there equally. From the student's perspective, the overall feeling was neutral. The most concerning was the grade scale. The most positive was no preference followed by revisions. And for our alumni, keeping in mind that there were only 4 alumni who responded, the overall feeling, 2 folks said they were very concerned, while 1 person said somewhat positive and 1 person said very positive. The most concerning was the grade scale. And the most positive, there was no preference for that from the alumni. And yes, in fact, there were other responses. 2 folks who identified as Batman said that they were concerned. Our school mascot apparently was concerned. But a deer feels neutral. And again, thank you everyone for your responses there. More importantly though, folks, like if we take all responses as an aggregate, the overall feeling, as you can see here, is that most folks who responded felt neutral, followed by feeling somewhat concerned about the new grading practices. The most concerning, no surprise, is the grade scale. And the most positive, there was no preference, followed by revisions. all of which leads to the big takeaways from this survey. One is that our community feels neutral to somewhat concerned about the new grading practices. Our community is most concerned about the new grade scale. And our community is most positive about the new revision policy. Importantly, I'd also ask that you keep in mind that this same survey is going to be sent out in October and at least 2 more times throughout the 23-24 school year. And we'll be able to track people's feelings about this as we go. Having said that, folks, I know I went through this relatively quickly, but please feel free to go back to it. And again, please feel free to go to the slideshow that goes along with this to be able to dig into it more. If you do have any questions or concerns, please reach out. Email is the best, but you have these other options as well. Thanks for your time and have a great day.